Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. All right, I finally reached 50 followers on my Lego ideas. I've been doing this for a little bit over 6 months now, and I hope to have one of my ideas hit the 10,000 supporters soon. Uh, at least by the end of next year, I want to say I'm getting better at it. Lately, I've been hitting 100 within the first week, usually. Um, and some of these are really off the wall. Like, who would know about the squaring the square problem, right? Had I done something a little bit more mainstream, I probably could have hit it even faster, right? I've never lost anything from not getting the 100 supporters at least, even at the beginning when I had just started. So I'm starting to feel optimistic, especially if I get a big base. Imagine if there were 2,000 followers here, and every time I posted something, they would be the first to see it, right? It only took me 6 months to get 51, and usually there's a networking effect as well, so I'm really optimistic. I started the Lego ideas back in I submitted my first one on May 7th, but I really started in early spring. What had happened was I wanted to diversify my art portfolio a little bit so that I could be known as an artist. Also, Trump had just signed those big tariffs, bismuth prices had quadrupled, and I had to take a break away from it. And that's when I started playing around with the Brickling Studio program, which I use for all the Lego builds. This is a game that I hope to put together at some point. The reason I started, my first one was the Palace of Culture and Science. The reason I started, I was at my grandmother's funeral. I was really lonely last year. I was asking all of my friends, left, right, and center, if anybody could set me up on a blind date. Now, people thought I went crazy, but you got to remember why I was doing that. I was trying to quickly put a band aid over my broken heart so that I could actually go out and date properly, right? It wasn't, oh, can you set me up with my future wife and we're going to be happily ever after, right? Now, I mean, there was a small probability that could have happened, but the bigger probability was that I could quickly put a large band aid over my broken heart so that I could properly breathe and go out and do the right thing, right? And that's how it mostly played out, by the way, so it's all good. But while I was at my grandmother's funeral, I read my grandmother's biography and I discovered that she was born right before we had lost Mary Curry. So the two had lived together for about 6 months. And so I asked my grandmother, when she gets reunited with Mary Curry, to have Mary Curry set me up on a blind date. Not long after that, for some reason, I decided to read about Mary Curry's family, and I discovered that she has a granddaughter, Helene, who is still alive, 97 years old, and I decided to contact her. And to my surprise, we actually did strike up a conversation, especially when I told her about how I had extracted polonium 210 from the dust in our basement. Oh, she got really excited about that. Now, unfortunately, she's elderly, so there isn't much in terms of other than that. And actually, one of my colleagues thinks that perhaps Helene is misremembering me as somebody else. After all, I'm talking about science she did in the past. She could be misremembering me as somebody that she worked with, but that's fine with me. Like I said, a lot of this. What's the probability that I'll ever have a life with her? Probably about as low as going home and finding out that all my bismuth has turned into thallium. Right? It's probably on par with that. But the much bigger probability is that I'm going to feel better, and so that I could actually get my work done and meet people in my real circle. It's not a complete loss. People seem to forget about that. Sometimes those little pick me ups, right? Um, but also I I had been talking to a Polish celebrity even before I went to my grandmother's funeral, and after the ask, our conversation went into a much higher gear. Now that one has a much higher probability than me going home and seeing that all of my bismuth has become thallium, right? That one's probably more on par with the probability of going home and finding out that bismuth is now worth more than gold, right? The probability that me and that Polish celebrity are going to be together is probably more like that, right? With Khalid Curry, it's like going home and finding out all of my bismuth has turned into thallium, right? So very different orders of magnitude, right? But I needed to impress both of them. And that's when I put together the Palace of Culture and Science. And it took me about a month to get the 100 supporters, but I got it. Then I had a friend take a trip to Japan. I stayed in a capsule hotel when I was in Japan a number of years ago, and I put that together. And then finally, you guys remember when I was in Taiwan, I met a girl on Bumble, but we had a period of time where we ghosted each other. And I wasn't going to bother her again, but I wanted to be ready when she came back in case she ever did. And that's when I put together the Taipei 101. I was in the middle of doing that when, lo and behold, one day she blew up my phone. And what had happened was she had dated somebody else, and it didn't go down very well. And she had talked to me about it, so I felt good about that. And long story short, she returned to me in the middle of my art career, right? And we really hit it big after that. Long story short, uh, now I'm a mathematician, and I had hoped to decorate the my office with some Mondrian art puzzles. It's a math problem, and I've painted a few of them. And then I thought, hey, I could do this out of Lego as well. My inspiration was last winter when I put together a Mona Lisa set, and so it hangs very easily. It has hooks and all that. In a previous lifetime, I used to love to program AI for various computer games, and I decided to look up what's the oldest game in recorded history, the Royal Game of Ur, and I put that together. My other favorite building in Taiwan is the Grand Hotel. There are a few other buildings like that in China, traditional Chinese architecture. I got to stay in the Grand Hotel at least one night at some point. It's about $200 a night, just for the experience. I had a friend who traveled to. I actually did Motel 6 after I did this one. I had a friend who traveled to Maui and stayed at the Whaler Hotel. And I got such good support doing that. I decided to do other hotels, and I started Googling some simple hotel buildings. And the Motel 6 was the best one I could find, and that's what I ended up doing. It's only got 400 pieces. I'm not sure if you win Lego ideas and you make 1% commission, is it better to do a big set? Like this one would probably sell for $400 or $500, right? It's got 5,000 pieces, and you would make $4 or $5 a set, or a small one like this, which might only sell for $30, $40 at best, right? And but you would sell a lot more of those sets. I wonder which one would do better in terms of the financial gain. I'm a big fan of Home Alone, both 1 and 2. Kevin gets lost in the Plaza Hotel, and so I put together a Plaza Hotel. Another one of my favorite math art pieces is a logarithm table. I also love collecting various math artifacts like antique calculators. That's an HP 35, literally one of the first handheld calculators ever to hit the market. And then I redid some of Mondrian's paintings in real life size. Both of these are actual size. They got 5,000 Lego bricks each. And I had such good luck with New York buildings, so I looked up some of the most famous New York buildings, and unfortunately, they're also very popular with Lego, but it seems like nobody has done the Woolworth building just yet, so I did that. And then I did a couple more bigger ones than I had last time. That's one of my proudest builds, but of course it's very obscure to most people who are involved in Lego. Now, the Palace of Culture and Science is what is called a traditional Stalin kind of building. I wanted to do a general set of Stalin buildings, but Lego won't accept that because Stalin is still not okay to talk about. But they'll let me do a hotel in Prague, even though it is that kind of style. And then that takes us to the Rockefeller Christmas tree, which is also involved in Home Alone 2, obviously. I usually like to keep, when I do New York buildings, I usually like to keep the same scale, 500 to 1. I've also done the Freedom Tower and the Twin Towers. They all were done in the same scale because I have this dream of putting them all together into a New York at some point. And of course, there's also a lot of boring buildings in New York, like all of the walk-up apartments and all of that. Well, you could probably copy and paste a lot of those, right? So that's the good news. I can't wait to, at least on Bricklink Studio, to one day be able to open a file and literally be able to zoom in at a Manhattan. I don't know why. Manhattan's probably the best city to do that for. I can't think of any other city that would be easier to do. I guess maybe you could do Tokyo because it's so new, right, in terms of the buildings. So I celebrate my first 50 followers. I hope you will join me in following my art and supporting them so I can get 10,000. This is the Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum.